Welcome to Secret Story. My wife, Sarah, started working as a secretary for a hedge fund company about a year ago. She seemed to love this job so much because she was always glowing whenever she talked about it. Her last job was hell for her. She would often come home crying because her boss was such an asshole, so I was happy that she found something better at first. When I found out why she liked it so much, however, well, you will see that my wife is a gorgeous woman and always has been. We met in college and it was love at first sight. 7 years later, I still love her as much as the first day I met her. She left for work before me, so I would usually still be in bed while she was getting ready. Beep beep beep, honey, your phone is going off. Looks like you got an email, I said to her. Ah, okay, she said as she popped out from the bathroom. I couldn't help but admire her. This is both a joy and a curse, because guys are constantly chasing after her. That I can't really blame them, though. Could you check it for me, please? I'm so late, she said as she hurried back into the bathroom. That I grabbed her phone and opened the message. It was an invite to a Christmas party at her office on the weekend. It also said she was allowed a +1. Her office had a lot of parties, but it was always just for staff, or so she said. Basically anytime they closed a deal it would be cause for celebration. Sarah would always attend them and usually wouldn't get home until early in the morning, or sometimes even late the next day. I never complained though. I would rather she didn't drink and drive, and I never had a reason not to trust her. That I was curious what these parties were like though. When Sarah describes them to me, they always sound so extravagant. It's just a reminder about your office Christmas party this weekend, I shouted to her. Oh, I completely forgot about that. Thanks, honey, she said. So are you going to invite me? I said playfully. Oh sweetie, you know these parties are always staff only. It says you are allowed a +1 here, I said, wondering if she was really unaware or just didn't want me to come. She peeked her head around the door of the bathroom. Oh really? That's weird, I didn't know. You don't want to come though, trust me, it's going to be boring. Just a bunch of people talking about finance, she said with a dismissive tone. Well, that was not the response I expected. Why didn't she want me to come? She always talks about how great the parties are, so it didn't make sense that she now says they are boring. It's not like she was really into finance either. I don't care, I still want to come and have fun with you, I said playfully. She exited the bathroom and began putting on her tight black skirt. I really don't think you are going to have any fun there, Brian, she said in a slightly nervous tone while she slipped on a white halter top. She started dressing more and more daring since she started this job. I just thought it was her confidence improving, but now I was beginning to wonder. As long as I'm with you, I'm going to have fun. I promise, I said, trying to sound encouraging. She was finally ready for work and just stopped and looked at me. It felt like forever before she actually spoke. Well. Okay, but you need to promise me you won't act weird, okay? She said in a stern voice. Why would I act weird? Some of the guys can be very flirty with the women in the office. Like, it's not offensive or anything. More just playful, but it's just how it is at our office. So you need to promise me you won't get jealous if someone jokingly starts hitting on me, okay? I was stunned for a minute. Flirting? Now I was more curious than ever about what happens at these parties. That I tried to take the high road and not seem jealous. If I start getting jealous, then she really wouldn't want me to come. Babe, I trust you, I love you, and I know you love me. I know you would never do anything to hurt me, I said, trying not to show how confused I really was. Besides, anything, I'll feel proud that I'm the one that gets to take you home. She paused for a second with a slightly guilty look. Okay, honey. If you really want to come, then of course. I do love you more than anything, and perhaps this could be fun, Sarah said before giving me a kiss. Okay, I really have to go now. Go get your tux dry cleaned. She ran out the door and drove off to work. That my mind was racing now. I was so confused and worried. I tried to convince myself that nothing was going on, but I started overthinking things. Like somehow she never put her in the laundry hamper, or how she always had to shower the second she got home. That could mean something, right? I snapped myself out of it, and went to work. There was no point stressing about something that might not be anything at all. That weekend, Saturday came and Sarah was getting ready. It was usually a 4-hour process. I put on my tux, and peeked into the bathroom. I approached her from behind, and wrapped my arms around her, before gently kissing her shoulder. "You look amazing, Sarah." Sarah giggled. "Does she always end up there after these parties?" I need to stop overthinking that. I was all ready, and packed up. Sarah was finally ready, wearing a very short black. "You are not bringing another outfit as well?" I asked. "No, I usually just hang out in my. Everyone I work with is super casual, so it's not a big deal," Sarah said very casually. "Okay, where is your?" I asked, now even more curious about these parties. My mind was racing, thinking of her just hanging out. We got into the car and drove to the party, just chit-chatting on the way. They had valet outside of the office building that she works in. The elevator door opened to her office. And it was amazing. We walked out into a massive lobby illuminated with blue and purple lights. It was surrounded by cubicles and offices. Most of the offices had frosted glass, but there were a few that were clear and showed off the amazing view of the city. A very brunette instantly ran up to us and hugged Sarah. "Where have you been, girl? Everyone has been waiting for you," she said. "And who is this handsome guy?" "This is my husband, Brian," Sarah said. "Brian, this is Lindsay. She is one of the other assistants here." Lindsay was a stunner. She looked like she was about 18 with an amazing body. "Nice to meet you, Brian," Lindsay said as she reached out to shake my hand. She immediately looked back at Sarah. "You are crazy, you know that?" she said, chuckling. "Crazy? Why was bringing me to a party crazy? Did I miss something? Why is she crazy?" I asked jokingly. "Oh, don't mind her, sweetie. She is just being silly," Sarah said while striking a sharp glare at Lindsay. Lindsay winked back at her. "Okay, so clearly I was missing something here. Hey, why don't you get your wife a drink while I take her to say hi to everyone?" Lindsay asked as she grabbed Sarah's arm and dragged her off without even waiting for a response from me. I scanned the room looking for the bar. The office had a purple ice theme with glass tables and chairs surrounding a dance floor with a large Christmas tree in the center. It looked more like a nightclub than it did an office Christmas party. I found the bar and ordered a beer, and got my wife a glass of wine. I began to scan the room looking for her, but was struggling to find her. The room was packed with people in black tuxedos and dresses. Kind of reminded me of a Where's Waldo book. Finally I spotted Sarah and Lindsay talking with a guy in the crowd. Tall, well-built and very clean cut. He reminded me of Harvey Specter from the TV series Suits. They were all laughing and talking when suddenly another man came up behind my wife and wrapped his arms around her. Sarah quickly pushed his hands away, and said something into his ear. I wish I knew what she said because he immediately began scanning the room. I was just about to head over to them, when some guy that clearly had way too many drinks asked me if I could get him another beer. The bartenders had already cut him off, and for good reason. I said no, but he kept insisting, so I gave in, and just got him another beer. I was just about to head to Sarah, but she was not there anymore. I worked my way through the crowd trying to find her, but no luck. After about 15 minutes of wandering around looking, I just decided to sit on the nearby vacant couch. Another hour passed until my wife and Lindsay finally found me. To be fair, I was right in the open, so it wasn't a difficult search. "There you are, sweetie," Sarah said with a worried tone. "We have been looking for you everywhere." I was about to explain to her my search efforts, but was quickly interrupted by Lindsay. "You guys look so cute right now. I'm gonna take a picture of you too," she said energetically. "Come on and give him a kiss for the picture." Sarah obliged, and gave me a quick peck on the lips. "Lindsay!" Sarah shouted with a glare. "Don't be such a..." I know you are not shy, Lindsay shouted. Sarah glanced at me as if trying to decide if she should or not. She then wrapped her arms behind my neck and gave me a deep passionate kiss as Lindsay took the picture. Sarah tasted different. That it was like whiskey and something else. What did you drink, Sarah? I asked. You taste salty. Oh, we just did some shots, Lindsay said in a very suspicious tone. Sarah shot another glare at Lindsay. Yeah, we had some tequila. We had the salt but no lemon unfortunately, Sarah said sounding very unsure. Weird, but I guess I had to take her word for it. The party continued, and we sat on the couch and chatted, and drank with a couple quick dances in between. It was clear that Sarah had a good buzz going on. Hey guys. Party time back at Craig's place. You in? Said a man's voice behind me. Sarah and I turned around to see the first guy I saw Lindsay and Sarah talking to. Another man approached, also tall, handsome, and athletic. It was like everyone that worked here came out of a fitness magazine or something. Yeah, I got limos waiting out front. You two ready to go? Said the other man. Yeah, for sure, chirped Sarah. Oh, and hey, this is my husband Brian. Brian, this is Craig and Daniel. They are the senior partners here. Pleasure to meet you, I said, and I shook their hands. Nice to meet you as well, said Craig. Okay, yeah, let's go, said Lindsay as she grabbed Sarah's hand. Our limo awaits. Oh, Sarah, we got the car, remember? That's no problem. You can just follow us to my place, said Craig. Craig seemed like a very professional type of guy. He was well-spoken, and radiated with confidence. Daniel, however, seemed like the opposite. He reminded me of a dumb jock from high school that never grew up. We all headed downstairs where the limos were all lined up. I gave the valet my ticket, and he pulled around our car. Craig and Daniel were rounding everyone up and I went to Sarah to see if she was ready to go, but she was being pulled off into the limo by Daniel. Sarah, aren't you coming with me? I asked, slightly confused. Oh sweetie, I'm going to ride in the limo with Lindsay. Just follow us, and I'll see you when we get there, Sarah said before a pair of hands reached out from the limo and pulled her in. I got in my car, and started following them. This night is certainly not turning out as expected. Why did my wife really taste salty? She certainly wasn't drinking tequila, and where did she disappear to? I had so many questions and my head was racing. I wanted to know what was going on in that limo. It seemed to be rocking every time we stopped at a light. That I need to stop thinking or I was going to drive myself crazy. I promised Sarah I wouldn't get jealous and I should trust her. I followed the limos down into a parking garage of a high-rise condominium. In the garage there was a private area that we pulled into that had an elevator and a doorman waiting. I parked up behind them and got out of my car. Lindsay was the first to emerge from the limo, but she wasn't wearing her dress anymore. She was wearing a pink. Maybe she just had it on under her dress. She pranced off to the elevator with Daniel in hand following behind her. Sarah was the next one out. And to my surprise she also had her white on. When did she change? Did she change in the limo? Craig got out behind her and playfully, and they headed for the elevator. Sarah, wait for me. I shouted. Sarah turned around and looked at me. Her expression was almost as if she forgot I was even there. I'll see you upstairs, Craig said to her with a grin. Everyone else proceeded upstairs as I approached my wife. Hey, when did you change? I said, slightly upset. Oh, he was just being playful, Brian. You promised you wouldn't get jealous, remember, she said with a stern tone. Okay, you are right, I'm sorry. Yeah. It's not a big deal. I was super quick. Don't worry so much, said Sarah very dismissively. She didn't deny it, but it seemed like asking her was only making things worse, so I decided to just give up on the topic. We proceeded upstairs to a condo that you would only see in the movies. It had 30-foot-high ceilings, with a second floor that wrapped around the living room. Off the balcony was the large stone hot tub that some people were already enjoying. I could only see their silhouettes in the hot tub, with the only light coming from inside the tub. "Isn't Craig's place beautiful?" my wife asked as she clung to my arm. Before I could respond, Craig and Lindsay came over to us. "Hey guys," Craig said. "Brian, welcome and make yourself at home. Anything you want is yours. Thank you for having me." "Perhaps just a drink for now," I responded. Of course, Lindsay and I were just about to go get a drink ourselves. "Why don't you join us?" Craig said as Lindsay smiled excitedly. "Sounds good to me," I said as I began to follow them to the kitchen. "Oh Sarah, Mike and Sean are looking for you. Why don't you go say hi to them while we entertain your husband?" "They are over there," Craig said as he pointed in the direction of the hot tub. A big grin came across my wife. "Okay," she said as she gave me a quick kiss on the cheek. "I'll come find you after, okay sweetie?" I nodded and continued to follow Craig and Lindsay. I peeked behind me as I saw Sarah head to the hot tub and climb in. We continued into the kitchen and Craig passed me a beer. "Your wife is an amazing woman, Brian. You are a very lucky man," Craig said before taking a sip of what looked like whiskey in a rock glass. I nodded in agreement as I tried to peer through the kitchen doorway to the hot tub. I wanted to get closer to see what was going on, but I didn't want to be rude. "Craig! Come here," said a man's voice from the other room. "Ah, I'm being called away." "Once again, Brian, please make yourself at home. Maybe Lindsay can show you around until your wife comes back," said Craig, as he headed back into the living room. "Okay, let's go get comfy then," Lindsay said as she grabbed my hand, and pulled me to the couch in the living room. It was closer to the tub and I could see a little bit better. "Is that Sarah?" My mind was racing again. Lindsay just started talking about a movie she just saw. I wasn't really able to pay attention, and just nodded now and then. I was determined to find out what was going on in that hot tub though. "Hey Lindsay, I want to go change into my swim trunks. Where can I go?" "Oh, if you go upstairs there is a bathroom you can use," Lindsay said as her attention immediately went to someone else. She just wandered off, so I decided to just go upstairs. I could probably get a better view from up there without letting Sarah see me. The second floor was basically an open concept bedroom that had a balcony overlooking the living room. I could see out of the massive floor-to-ceiling windows into the hot tub. I went and changed into my trunks and a t-shirt and then headed back out to see if I could get a better view of the hot tub. I checked the second floor for other people and then approached the railing. I stood far enough back that I could now see better without being noticed. It was still hard to see, but I could make out now that Sarah was the girl the dance. I stormed downstairs and was on my way to the elevator. I was just about to press the button so I could leave this horrible situation that I paused as I stared at the elevator. I can't leave like this. I headed back towards the hot tub, but Sarah was already gone. I wandered around looking for her, and found her in the kitchen with Lindsay. They were taking a shot of something and giggling. "Sarah?" I said as I approached them in a stern voice. "Oh, there you are," she said as she ran over to me and kissed me. "I see you are ready to get wet. Can we go talk somewhere and talk?" I asked. Sure I guess," she said confused before looking back at Lindsay. "I'll be back in a min." I brought her upstairs to the bathroom and closed the door. "What were you doing in the hot tub?" I said sharply. "I was hanging out with Mike and Sean. They just started at my work recently, and are working their way up the ranks super fast," Sarah said almost as if she was bragging. "What were you doing with them in the hot tub?" I asked again, this time with a bit of anger in my voice. "It was nothing," she said cheerfully. Almost as if it was something that people do all the time. "It didn't look like nothing." "Oh my God, Brian. Were you spying on me?" she said angrily. "What the hell? You said you wouldn't do this. You also said it was just harmless flirting. It was okay. It wasn't a big deal, okay? So you were just dancing for them?" I said sarcastically. "Yes. I mean," Sarah's tone changed. It seemed more sincere now. Okay, it wasn't a huge deal so I just kept going, she said. And then? I replied. And then? It was an accident. I tried getting off of him but it was hard. It felt nice so I just let it happen for a minute. What? It was just an accident, okay? Please don't be upset. How could she even ask me not to be upset? Of course I'm upset. But somehow she made me start to feel guilty. How? Why? I was jealous but for some reason I wasn't mad. Can we go back and enjoy the party now please? Sarah said as she hugged me tight. I love you and I'll make it up to you later, okay? I paused for a moment, unable to find any words to respond with. Okay, fine I guess, I said. I'm not sure how I gave in so easy or that I trusted her, but I did. Sarah grabbed my hand and opened the door to the bathroom that we went back downstairs and met up with Lindsay again. They made me almost forget about everything that had just happened. Sarah. Let the girls out. Let them be free. Lindsay shouted, clearly drunk. Sarah looked at me with an innocent look on her face. I'll only do it if you give me permission. I nodded. I wasn't sure what else to do. That would be a good way to pay me back. These two. Lindsay shouted as she pulled the string for Sarah's. Just then Daniel came up behind Sarah and started whispering in her ear. She giggled a bit before biting her lip and closing her eyes. That I wish I knew what he was saying to her. That I was about to say something but then Lindsay collapsed on the floor. Looks like the alcohol was finally too much for her. Sarah dropped to the floor to check on her. Lindsay. Are you okay? Sarah said as she inspected the incapacitated teen. Brian, can you please help me bring her upstairs and put her to bed? I was angry but still concerned so I picked her up and carried her up to the bedroom upstairs. Lindsay started mumbling, how did it taste? What is she talking about? How did what taste? I asked. Lindsay giggled, Craig and Daniels. I figured she must have thought I was someone else so I just ignored it. I'm flying. Lindsay screamed as I carried her up the stairs. And now you are landing, I said chuckling as I placed her in the bed. I took one last glimpse at her amazing body before I covered her with a blanket. You are such a nice guy, Brian, she mumbled again. But I want to know how it tasted when you kissed her. When I kissed who? I asked confused. When you kissed your Sarah. Your wife. When you kissed her after Craig and Daniel, Lindsay asked giggling. She really loves you though so don't worry. I love you too actually. Awesome guy. I started feeling nauseous when I finally understood what she was saying. Now I understood why she didn't want to kiss me at the office. That I took a few deep breaths and went downstairs to look for Sarah again. I went back into the kitchen, but I couldn't see her. I just saw Daniel standing behind the island counter with his eyes closed. Most of the guests were gone at this point, and there were not many places she could hide. Hey Daniel, have you seen my wife? I asked. Yeah bro, she's right here. I looked around but I didn't see her. Finally I saw her stand up from behind the counter. I asked, incredibly disappointed. She simply nodded innocently. She had that, I know I'm in trouble, look on her face. Don't worry about it bro. She's just having fun, Daniel said. I wasn't even angry anymore. I was just lost, I guess. I was upset at what was happening, but I just couldn't look away. You're welcome bro. Daniel said as he held up his hand waiting for a high five. I just looked at him and shook my head. I was shocked but I couldn't stop watching. Craig entered the kitchen and came up beside me and put his hand on my shoulder. I said it before and I'll say it again. Your wife is an amazing woman, Craig said to me as he handed me another beer. Are you going to get in on this? Unable to even turn and look at him. I just shook my head. Suit yourself, said Craig, as he walked over to the other side of the island. That he simply nodded at Daniel, as if to signal something. You go girl, Lindsay screamed from the bedroom upstairs. Craig walked past me. Amazing woman, he said, chuckling as he left the room. She was trying to catch her breath but seemed completely exhausted that I still couldn't believe what I just witnessed. I was too in shock to think of anything at that moment. Sweetie, Sarah said softly, panting. Can you take me home please? I was still unable to speak. I went and grabbed the shirt from my bag and helped her slide it over her head. I helped her off the counter, and grabbed her purse and headed for the elevator. The ride home was quiet. We didn't speak. Once we got back home I went and flopped into bed. Sarah came into bed and laid beside me. Haven't you had enough tonight? I asked. She said in a cute innocent tone, and she shook her head. Always more for the man that gets to take me home. I love you, she said. The next morning we talked and she confessed everything to me. She told me about the kiss and how she Craig and Daniels at the office. About the in the limo, and the hot tub with Sean, and Mike. I was heartbroken, but I still loved her. I honestly had no idea what to do next. That I asked her if she would stop, but she was reluctant to agree. She said that she would do anything to make me happy though. It was not really the clear answer I was looking for, but I accepted. Or tried to at least. Sarah and I separated for a while after I realized this was never going to end. I was down and feeling alone, so I decided to drown myself with work. It worked out well though, because I got a promotion at work. This promotion came with some perks. One of which was I got to hire a secretary. Luckily, I got Lindsay's phone number at the party. She ended up coming to work for me and things started professional. Sarah ended up getting fired from her job. Turns out Craig and Daniel get bored pretty easily. Basically she was replaced with a newer model. Sarah tried to come back to me, and told me she had changed. There was no way I could trust her again. She was determined to earn my trust though, that I refused to let her back in the house, so she decided to sleep on the back deck. I didn't tell her to do that, it was her own choice. One of the nights she was back there, I brought Lindsay home. Lindsay persuaded me to give her another chance, but with a different dynamic. I hosted a couple of office parties for my company. Sarah became my party favor. Got a big fat raise as well. Sometimes things are always darkest before the dawn. The end.